Again, welcome everyone. My name is Nina Farrell. I am the manager of events and social media for the Alumni Association for the City College of New York. Welcome to our discussion on total health. For those of you that are not familiar with the Alumni Association of City College, we are a 170-year-old membership-based independent organization operating on the campus of CCNY and on behalf of its alumni. Founded by the first graduating class in 1853, and with their original interest in mind, we seek to establish beneficial relationships between the City College and its alumni, while also supporting and promoting meaningful connections among alumni, students, faculty, and staff. One of the ways we do this is through hosting engaging events like the one this evening, and with esteemed alumni like Dr. Susan Regisford. And on that note, I will introduce Dr. Regisford. Dr. Susan Regisford is a graduate of the City College of New York and Hahnemann University School of Medicine, which was located in Philadelphia. She completed her anesthesia residency training at NYU, but she has stepped away from clinical medicine in 2020 to become a writer and life coach, specializing in health and wellness issues. Susan publishes a blog, Best You Made Possible, and she can also be found working on her production company, Regal Media. Without further ado, I present to you Dr. Susan Regisford.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. Before I begin the presentation, I would just like to take a few moments to say a prayer. And so if you just bow your heads, if you don't mind. If not, just close your eyes. Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, we give praise and thanks to you for the many blessings you've bestowed upon us and continue to bestow on us. I thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interact with these beautiful people tonight. I pray, Heavenly Father, that you will open the minds and soften the hearts of everyone present here tonight, allowing each and every one of us to receive whatever is needed to help us and guide us on this journey called life. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so very much, everyone. I would also like to take this moment to do some housekeeping. I want to thank the CCNY Alumni Association in particular, the Executive Director, Mr. David Covington, and the Events and Social Media Manager, Nina Farrell, who has done all the heavy lifting behind the scenes to get this event up and running. I would also like to thank everyone who has turned up tonight to listen to my passion, total health, my philosophy about total health, and hopefully I can share with you some valuable tips on how to get totally healthy, be healthy, stay healthy. And last but not least, I would like to thank all my support people, my husband, my sisters, my nieces and nephew, and good friends. Those of you who have stood by me as I made this transition from clinical medicine to helping others become totally healthy. Thanks, everyone. So on that note, we will begin with the concept that is the foundation and root of my blog, Best You Made Possible. It's total health. It's on the screen, and it basically is this philosophy that I developed because after many years as a practicing physician, patients coming in repeatedly with the same problem, week after week, week after week, week after week, I realized that we as physicians were not addressing the problem. We were putting Band-Aids on a superficial wound, but the root cause of the problem was not being addressed. Somebody's requesting, who's requesting remote control? Dr. Jennifer? Nina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's okay.
Dr. Jennifer is requesting remote control.
That might be a mistake because there's...
So basically, apologies. So I just realized that we were not addressing the whole patient. We were just addressing one area, and we were not addressing their psychological, their emotional, their mental, their physical, and even spiritual and financial health. So I decided that I wanted to make a difference in the whole person, in the whole being, and that's where my idea of total health came from. And I call it holistic health, the whole person, not the HOL, but the WHOLE, the whole person. And so that is where total health comes from. It is a state of being in complete spiritual alignment, which results in optimal health and is characterized by maximum joy, peace, and contentment. And it's a fluid state, because think about it. We are evolving and changing every second of every day. So 5 seconds ago, you were a different person. You have evolved. So it's a fluid state, and we must adapt because of this, the nature of total health, by being more flexible and adaptable with changes as they present to us. So that is my definition of total health, but you will get more on that as the presentation proceeds. So many people take their health for granted until they get sick or until the discomfort becomes too unbearable. I would like for you to take a moment to ponder this idea, because we think that not getting enough sleep is okay, but lack of sleep is very detrimental to our health. We think not drinking enough water on a regular basis is not okay, but dehydration is a big problem for many people, and it results in organ damage. So the mission of Best You Made Possible and its services is to educate you about your total health and how it can be compromised by several things you may have consciously or unconsciously neglected to do on a regular basis. Also, for you to become mindful of the early signs alerting you that it's time to examine your story. And why did I underline these words? Mindfulness is very important. We have to be living in each moment to be making healthy choices, because if we're not mindful of the choices we are making, we go quickly through life and we just, like, for instance, you're hungry, you just grab a bagel, but you need to be mindful and tune into the fact that what you're grabbing, a bagel, is full of carbs, and you need some protein to balance it, and you also need some fats to balance it. So mindfulness is one of the words that you need to become comfortable with if you want to start practicing total health and becoming totally healthy. Examine Your Story is my podcast, the name of my podcast. So you can find my blog post on the podcast, so you can just tune in and find me. It's BYMP-Examine Your Story. But what does Examine Your Story mean? I define your story as your life. So if you are, your story is what you're presenting to the world. If your story is not what you want it to reflect, your values and belief, then maybe it's time that you examine your story. Our mission also is to then help you rewrite the narrative with clarity. So what are the early signs that you need to pay attention to? What are signs that might be suggesting that something is going on underneath the surface that you need to address? Chronic irritability is a big, big early sign. People think, oh, I'm just cranky today. But if you're chronically irritable every day, it's a lack of patience. And when we lack patience, folks, we have a tendency to act impulsively. And when we act impulsively, we can sometimes make irrational decisions that compromise our total health. A long-standing sense of dissatisfaction, it's a lack of gratitude. You're never satisfied with what you have. I am of the firm mindset that we should count our blessings, be grateful for what we have, because what we have is enough. What we have is enough to make us feel joyful, peaceful, and contented. But if you're busy looking at what someone else has and you're not grateful for what you have, as a result, you will feel this chronic sense of dissatisfaction. Frequent boredom. And I know some of you might actually resent that I've used the word selfishness, but let's be honest, folks, everybody's a little bit selfish. If you're frequently bored, that means you're spending too much time with yourself. It's time to interact with others, connect with other people, and help someone else. You know, share yourself, share your love. Constant fear, and this is in red because fear, I've come to realize, is the disease that is plaguing a lot of people today. And I will say this again repeatedly throughout the presentation. It is a lack of love and peace, because if we are not holding on to love, what is filling the void? The void is being filled with fear. And it's one of my acronyms, guys. If you haven't been following me, I'm the acronym queen. Everything I make an acronym for. And the FAIR acronym basically says that fear is a figment of our imagination. It engenders extreme chaos and confusion, which causes you to lose clarity and make unhealthy decisions. It is always lurking around, ready to attack you when you are most vulnerable, and it resists vigorously any attempt of you to get over being fearful. So remember that acronym. If you're looking for the acronyms, you can find them on my website. They're downloadable as free PDFs, okay? Daily lack of energy or motivation. And this is a big one for people trying to create effective, healthy change in their life. Someone wanting to lose weight, but just really feeling unmotivated. That is because there's a lack of purpose, okay? And we will get into that more as we progress. Feeling despair or loss, it is a lack of clarity. And number 5 and number 6 are intimately linked. A lack of clarity about your purpose. And remember, our purpose gives us a sense of direction. Gives us, if you read my recent blog post, I wrote a whole article about why your purpose is important. So you can also find that on my website and have a listen or read if you want to. So how does one maintain contentment? And this is where I introduce the 2 fundamental truths of total health. So the first truth that everyone needs to pay attention to is we have to embrace and trust love fully. And the concept of love is something that many people struggle with. Love is that 4-letter word that we use frequently, but too many people don't really understand fully what it means to love someone unconditionally as you love yourself. And I always include self because we are not able to love another person until we first learn to love ourselves. But we must be able to embrace and trust love fully, because if we're not fully embracing love, we are fully embracing fear, and we do not want to be embracing fear. The idea is that we all have been given what we need to be healthy. We become unhealthy when we forget that fact, and we become unhealthy because we have allowed fear to take over and to take root in our lives, in our psyche, in our mind, in our spirit. The other fundamental truth is we must have clarity about our pick, the pick that you present into the world. That's my acronym for purpose, identity, and calling. Most people, believe it or not, do not know what their purpose is. Many people do not know what their purpose is, and they go through life searching for that purpose, and it leads them down many dead-end roads. They get lost, they get confused, they're dissatisfied. You at a job, you're making 6 figures, you are perfect hours, you have the house with the Mercedes, but somehow you are just not feeling satisfied. Maybe it's because you haven't found your purpose, or you haven't identified who you are, because if we do not know who we are, it is difficult to know what we need or desire. And if we don't know that, then it's difficult to get those needs met in a healthy way. And this is really key, because we all have essential and primary needs, primary and essential needs. Our primary needs are the needs that we have, like we need oxygen to survive, we need water to survive, because the human body is 45 to 75% water, with an average adult having about 60% of their body made up of water. Just think about that for a second. And then you would realize something as simple as not drinking enough water each day can affect your body. That's why when you don't drink enough water, you get headaches, migraines, dry skin, achy joints, because your organs need water to function properly. And if it's not getting enough water, it's going to take it from other places like your joints. And that's why sometimes your joints hurt when you're dehydrated. That's why your head hurts when you're dehydrated. So you need to have clarity, and you need to learn to embrace and trust love fully. So those are the 2 fundamental truths. You can write these down, take a moment to write them down, put it somewhere, take a snapshot, because this is important for you to start becoming totally healthy and for you to stay totally healthy. So how do we find out And how do we get totally healthy? It starts by examining our story. And your story, like I said, is your life. And if your story is the story of Beth, and that's another acronym, and Beth is our beliefs, but in this case, our beliefs are limiting beliefs that prevent us from living our full potential, that block us from achieving our goals. We all have beliefs. Everybody has a belief about something. You believe such and such about a person, and you think that belief is true, when in reality, it might not be true. So we have to examine our beliefs. The E stands for our emotional response, how we respond emotionally to things. And emotions in and of themselves are not unhealthy. They only become unhealthy when they are destructive. Thinking and thoughts. Thoughts are not bad either, but they can become toxic when they stimulate us to take unhealthy action. Think about it. You think something, for instance, you call a friend and your friend sounded really snappy at you, and you hang up from that friend and you're thinking, boy, what did I do to this person today? She must really hate me. You started thinking something negative and you ran with that negative thought, and then you start feeling sad, upset, miserable. In reality, your friend just had a bad day, and she was really not. Hello, Dr. Beck?
Yes.
I can hear you. It's echoing. Can you put your mic on mute? Do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I'm doing something else while I listen to you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, no worries. So T is for your thoughts. We have to examine our thoughts, because a thought, when we start thinking about something, we have a tendency to think that is something real, and then we act on that thought. So we have to be careful of those damaging, toxic thoughts, I like to call them. And H is our habits. When they're healthy, they're a great thing. But when our habits become unhealthy, then we have to change that. So we want to change the story of your life, which is your life, from the bad story to the best story. And the best story is, I want you to be believing, embracing, sharing, and trusting love fully. That's your best you. So if your story you are sharing with the world is not in alignment with your beliefs and your values, then it's time for us to rewrite the narrative. So how do we go about examining our story? I introduced to you the 4 pillars of total health, my 4 pillars of total health, and the 4 pillars of spiritual, psychological. And the psychological pillar is our emotional and mental state. We know that we are emotional beings, so we have to be very mindful of that. Physical, optimal fitness and health in body, and financial. We have to be fiscally intelligent. That means we have to have a budget and live within that budget, because financial stress is now considered a risk factor to our health. And we know that once we are stressed, what happens? A person who is stressed results in epinephrine and cortisol being pumped into your blood vessel, and that causes elevated blood pressure, kidney problems, heart problems, vascular problems, you name it. So basically, we want to make sure that we are being financially healthy, being physically healthy, being psychologically healthy, and being spiritually healthy. Spiritual health, our spirituality keeps us grounded. Everyone is spiritual being. Everyone is a spiritual being. Whether you believe in Jesus or not, you are a spiritual person. You have beliefs that you live by, and those are what guides your day-to-day action. So being totally unhealthy may not always be apparent to the world. However, it is always apparent to you. One or more of the 4 pillars will show damage: a crisis of faith, doubt about your identity, purpose, or self-worth, chronic worrying. And worrying is not only a psychological symptom, when you have a disease going on, you worry about that disease. Weight gain, medical problems, allergies are also signs of being unhealthy. Addictive habits and behaviors, sleeping problems. Many people have insomnia, and insomnia is a sign that there might be something else going on. Your health is at stake, and you have to look into that. Financial problems, spending or gambling excessively, malicious or destructive behavior to self and others, frequent or prolonged periods of depression. Nothing is ever enough, and you have a tendency to go to extreme. And people don't seem to get this one, but it is true. If you're not feeling satisfied, you think more is going to make you satisfied. So you do more, you indulge more, you become a workaholic, a gym rat, or spend more, eat more, do everything more in the hopes that you can feel a sense of satisfaction. But really, there's more to it than that. We have to go back to the concept that if you are not embracing love fully and trusting love to guide you, you're acting from a paucity mindset, from a fear that there is not enough. So you want to grab more and more and more. Unhealthy relationship with people, places, and things is another sign that we might be totally unhealthy. The state of your life is a reflection of your consistent daily choices. Every choice impacts our total health. When those choices are healthy, awesome, we stay healthy. But when those choices are repeatedly unhealthy, not going to sleep at the same time every night, skimping on sleep, getting less than a minimum at least of 7 hours of sleep, and you're exhausted day after day after day, that is impacting your total health. A person who's not sleeping enough is going to find ways and means to boost their energy, and that's usually grabbing stuff that's high in sugar, which is really bad and damaging to your body. So what are some choices we make consciously or unconsciously daily? How we believe, what we believe, how we think, what we hold on to, our emotional response to every situation in life, the actions and behaviors that we take, and what we let go of. And I really want you to pay attention to this, because what we believe shapes our life. What we think, it results in the action that we take. What we hold on to blocks you from other opportunities that can be potentially healthy for you, that allows you to become the full and best you. Our emotional response when things don't go well or go as you expected. That is key, folks, because disappointment is a fact of life. How we respond emotionally to those disappointments is what's going to shape our life. If we respond in a negative way every time something doesn't go our way, we set up a route, a pattern, a groove, and we default to that groove over and over and over again. If anger and outburst of violence is your default emotional response, then it's not only going to affect your health, it's going to affect the people closest to you. So we really want to check our emotional response. And this is where we go back to the idea of being mindful. The concept of mindfulness is the ability to be in the moment, be still in the moment with our emotions, taking a deep breath and slowing ourselves down enough to put some distance between the emotion and our next action. So if you're feeling really upset about something someone did to you, use my Breathe acronym. Take a breath. Breathe in some oxygen, clear the fog, the emotional tsunami, and allow yourself to see this from a different perspective so that you can choose an action that does not destroy your health, that does not negatively impact your health or the health of anyone that's close to you. So from this, we see that we should learn to choose healthy responses to our feelings, because that is what drives most people to act. When we feel a certain way, we want to alleviate that pain. When we are hurt, we want to alleviate that discomfort. But we have to learn to choose healthy ways to respond to those feelings. When we're sad, reach out to a friend. Talk to someone who's very close to you. Pray if you are a religious person. Speak to God, ask him to give you comfort during a crisis. Accept that sometimes your response may simply be a mindful pause. Just take a break, breathe, count to 10 like my mom always used to say, and relax your shoulders and let oxygen clear the fog and the cobwebs away, and allow you to see that your responses, the response that you're thinking of doing, is not a healthy one. So what is required to stay totally healthy? It's not only eating healthy food, it's how we think, it's what we feed ourselves to our air, what we feed ourselves visually, what we speak not only out to the world, but what we speak to ourselves on a regular basis. We are the person we spend the most amount of time with. We spend 24/7 with ourselves. If we are constantly speaking negatively to ourselves, we are not going to be healthy. We are going to be unhealthy. So we have to learn to practice healthy self-dialogue, healthy self-monologue, how we speak to ourselves. But these 10 things I list on the board because I want you to think of this as some suggestions of things you can do daily or weekly or monthly, check in to be staying consistently healthy and to remain in a state of joy, peace, and contentment. And number one is have a rule of life. A set of practices that you are religious about that reflects your spirituality. And this is key. Everybody has some practices that they do daily. Some people get up and pray and read their Bible and spend time with God. Some people get up and do deep breathing exercises and do yoga and sun salutations. Whatever it is for you, you have to find a way to be religious about it. When I say religious, I mean you do it consistently every day because it grounds you. It allows you to meet life's difficulties without losing your equanimity and your equilibrium. And you'll see those words again, right? Practice the art of acceptance. And this is one of the key words that you must understand. There are going to be things that are just not going to go the way you expected. And you have to learn to say, this was a difficult day, this was a bad day, but I made it through, I still am alive, and tomorrow is another day, and I have an opportunity to change the direction I'm taking. So learn to practice the art of acceptance. We must understand our triggers and when we are most vulnerable. Everyone has something that pushes them over the edge, and everyone is vulnerable at some point in their life. You have to know your triggers and you have to know when you're most vulnerable. And most people are most vulnerable, if you remember this acronym. Most people are most vulnerable when they are empty of love and full of hate. That's easy to remember, right? When we are empty of love and full of hate. So what is the hate acronym? The hate acronym is when we hunger. And hunger is not only that we hunger for food. We can hunger for money, we can hunger for power, we can hunger for control, we can hunger for an intimate connection with others. So those are hungers that we have to be aware of. And we remember we have needs, we are human beings, but we have to recognize those needs and get them met in healthy ways. When we are angry is when we are also vulnerable and have a tendency to give in to the temptation to do unhealthy things. When we are tired is another big one, folks. Always try to make sure you get proper rest throughout the day. And whether that is sleeping, that is doing a meditative state, or just doing a gentle yoga so that you can rest and relax your body. And of course, E is when we are empty spiritually and psychologically, we are vulnerable at that point. Know that there will be disappointments and setbacks. So we are aiming for progress, folks, not perfection. Take tiny steps. Baby steps forward when you plan to implement a change in your life. Little by little, you will gain greater rewards. And if you try to take a giant step and fall backwards, be mindful of your map. Be mindful of your map. If you're going to a destination and you're using the wrong map, you will either get lost, take longer than expected to get there, get frustrated. The MAP acronym is your mindset, your attitude, and your regular daily practices. Be mindful of them. What is your mindset? Do you have a mindset that is accepting or a mindset that is rejecting? Do you have a mindset of abundance or a mindset of paucity? Do you have a mindset of loving generosity or a mindset of stingy selfishness? What about your attitude? Are you having an attitude of gratefulness or are you coveting what other people have? Your practices, your habits, are they healthy and consistent with you maintaining your health or you getting healthy? Also, when we're traveling, if we're using the wrong GPS or the GPS is not functioning properly, we also get lost. And the GPS is, when it's malfunctioning, it's a GPS that's greedy, prideful, and selfish. But when it's functioning properly, it's a GPS that is full of gratitude, that is patient, and is selfless. We give of ourselves, and we find, I always wondered, my mom always said it was better to give than receive, and I always doubted her, but she's absolutely right. When you give of yourself, you actually get more in return. None of the above matters, however, if we lack the self-control and discipline to practice what we need. Indulging in instant gratification is generally a lack of discipline. So we have to, you have a question? No. We have to define, and I'm going to use a quote from Abraham Lincoln. He said, discipline is the ability to choose between what you want most, between what you want now and what you want most. And if what you want most is to lose weight, get healthy, or get a new job, or save for a big purchase, you have to forego the instant gratification of pleasure right now. Have an anchor, and that anchor keeps you grounded when you're feeling emotionally unsteady. That anchor can be a phrase, it can be a word, or it can be an accountability buddy. I use the phrase and the word frequently because sometimes if your accountability buddy is not, you're not able to reach that person right when you need them, a phrase or a word actually does the trick. So some phrases that resonates with you, that brings you peace, that pulls you out of your emotional discomfort. Get your essential needs met in healthy ways. First, make sure you know what they are. What are your essential needs? We need to have daily physical activity to make sure that our body stays fit, our organs stays fit. We need to drink properly, stay hydrated. We need to get plenty of rest. We need adequate nutrients and vitamins daily. We need to interact and connect on an intimate level with other people. We need to stimulate our mind. We need to be curious about learning. These are all things that we need. So when you feel yourself off kilter, ask yourself, which one of my pillars is not being addressed? Is it my spirituality pillar? Is it my psychological pillar, mentally or emotionally? Is it my physical pillar? Did I not get enough exercise today? Did I not get enough sleep today? Is it financial? Did I overspend today that I need to do a new budget and stick to my budget? And the last one is to care. And it's the CARE acronym, again, is an easy acronym to remember. Showing compassion to self and others. Accepting the frailties of being human. We are all human, therefore we make mistakes. Remember, be accepting of it because you've made mistakes and someone was accepting of that. Respect the boundaries of yourself and the boundaries that other people set for themselves. And show empathy for yourself as well as for others. So those are the 10 things, and that slide is a really good slide for you to have. I can send that slide out to you if you want it. So equilibrium, equanimity, the whole point of this presentation is that we really need to remember this. Because when we lose our calm and we lose our balance, what happens? We fall down, we make poor choices. The idea is that we are going to have road bumps. We're going to have detours along the way. There are going to be things blocking our paths periodically. Things are not always going to go the way we want. How do we stay in a way or stay in a mental space or emotional space that allows us to maintain that equilibrium and stay calm? We have to be humble, gentle, kind, patient, loving, generous, and grateful. I mean, it sounds like catchwords, but it really is. We need these things to help us to stay totally healthy. When we're arrogant, we put people off. We put up a wall between us and other people, and people are less inclined to help us. We need to be stable and not easily rattled. So we have to remember to practice acceptance, moderation, and mindfulness. We need to stay fit and in a healthy way and have healthy relationships, not only with food, people, but with other people and things. We are not supposed to love things and use people. We are to love people and use things. Use things appropriately, not excessively. Financially stable, living within your means, healthy relationship with money. And this is key. I go over this again and again and again. You don't have to be a millionaire to be happy financially. You can have a certain amount of money and budget yourself wisely. Learn to shop on sale days, on coupon days, and learn to shop for the non-perishables in bulk so that you can live within your budget and you can still eat healthy and you can still live within your budget and be comfortable. I put financial there because it is a big stressor, because many people worry about their finances. Am I going to meet the bills this month? What if this and this happens? If you create an effective budget for yourself and you live within that budget, you can be able to maintain your equilibrium and equanimity. The thing we have to realize is we have to figure out what is the number one thing that's causing stress in our life right now. And we need to understand what that thing is and why we need to understand it, because it's forcing us to make decisions and choices that may be compromising our health. Whatever that thing is, you need to ask yourself this question. What is it stimulating in me? Is it stimulating, or is it making me feel that there's a threat to one of my essential needs or one of my primary needs? When you can understand that and answer that question, then you can address the problem in a better way. So if it's a financial problem, let's say it's a financial problem, and you feel the lack of finances is triggering or threatening your sense of security and stability and well-being, that is a big thing. So what you need to do at this point is then you need to go and look at your budget carefully and your finances. Pay attention to where you're spending money excessively and find ways to cut back. I mean, services are much cheaper now, especially things like insurance, television, you can do streaming and stuff like that. So identify what's being threatened when there's a problem cropping up in your life over and over and over again. Love, my love acronym. I love this acronym because it really is a powerful acronym. And I define it as, and I put the words in red so that you can see what the letters stand for. Love is defined as living with an open heart and mind, which allows you to be victorious and feel empowered. Love is very empowering, folks. Unconditional love that you give to yourself and to others is a very empowering thing. When you love someone, you empower that person to live at their fullest. It allows you to handle whatever life presents. It is how we show proper care, compassion, acceptance, respect, and empathy, not only to ourselves, but to others. So that is a good acronym that you can remember as well. And again, remember, folks, the acronyms that I share here, you can find them on my website, Best You Made Possible. If you are not living in and from a state of love, what is fueling your every thought, word, and action? Fear. And remember, fear causes us what? Confusion and chaos. When there is fog in the brain, you are not thinking clearly. You're going to make decisions without gathering all the facts. So really, 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 I want you to practice the Breathe acronym. Step back, take a breath, and say, what is causing this fear? Where is this fear coming from? And remember, if you are feeling so much fear, it's because you have decided to let fear take a stronger hold in your life, and you have to reshift your focus to love. Start thinking about connecting with someone that you love, connecting with a good friend, and just getting back into the mindset of love. So if you're not fueling your actions by love, you're fueling your actions by fear. The fear that there's not enough. Fear is of the mindset, a paucity mindset, that there's not enough, that you're not enough, that it is not good enough. Fear is a negative emotion, guys. I'm not saying that fear, there's not periods when there's fear that is healthy. For instance, if you're driving and you see someone run the red light, you get a fearful moment, it causes you to press on the brake. That is a healthy fear. What I'm concerned about is the pervading sense of fear that lingers in a person's life, day in and day out. You're feeling fearful. And right now, I think there's a lot of people feeling fear and uncertainty about what is going to happen next in our lives with this chaos and confusion about the pandemic. So this is a really, really good time to start reconnecting with love, reconnecting with people who bring love into your life, reconnecting with things that brings joy into your life. If you like exercise and you cannot get to the gym, get outside and walk in the park, run up and down the hill. It is going to start invigorating your life, refueling your life, getting you energetic, getting you motivated, getting you feeling like if you're doing something positive for your health. So you have to reconnect with the things that bring you joy. I think so many people have put pause on those things, but I am not going to the gym anymore because of the pandemic, because I just don't want to go through the nonsense. So I have my spin bike at home. I use my spin bike. I get outside, I walk around the block. My husband and I go over to the ramp on 60th Street and run up and down that ramp. You can find ways of getting your physical activity in, and you feel so much better when you move more. If you can't get outside, you can sit in your home and do bicep curls with your water bottle. You can do chair squats just sitting in your chair. So, I mean, there's things that you can do to stay healthy, to stay physically moving, and to stay fit. So, how do you know if you are not living a life that is totally healthy? You are never satisfied. No matter what you have is never enough. It's never good enough. You're never enough. And that comes from the paucity mindset again, folks. The paucity mindset is a mindset of a fearing person, a person who's afraid that there's not enough. I am going to say this, and please listen to me. There is enough for everybody to live a life abundantly. To live your life abundantly, there is enough. There is enough for you to be living from a place of love, fully embracing and trusting love daily. So I'm coming to the end of my presentation, and you've heard it said 1,000 times, if not more. It's not what you say that matters, but what you do. Phrased another way, your actions speak louder than words. The actions you take repetitively daily, these actions are called your choices, and they are going to impact your health, your total health. If they are healthy actions, then you are fine. But if they're unhealthy actions and choices, you need to start looking at the pic, checking your map, checking your GPS, and change the narrative of your story. Because everybody, I believe, can be totally healthy, no matter what's going on around them, and even no matter what's going on inside of them, especially what's going on inside of you. Because we are the person we spend the most time with, and you have to learn to live with yourself from a place of love every day. So I am now at the end of my presentation. If you have gained anything or learned anything from this presentation, please find us and like us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter. The handle is at bestyoumadepossible. The only one that is a little bit different is Twitter, because possible was too long. So it's basically Best You Made Possible. Best You Made Poss, P-O-S-S. Also, I'm also plugging my guided holistic weight loss program that's starting this weekend on Saturday. It's a free orientation. If you would like to join, please see the link on Best You Made Possible and register. I'm going to be sharing weight loss tips and leave you with a question each week. And the idea is to help you learn how to change your lifestyle and maintain that lifestyle. And it starts with doing some serious work in the mind, in the attitude, in the practices daily. Thank you. And Nina, we can open up for questions if there are any questions.
Yes, everyone, if you can, unmute yourselves or raise your hand if you would like for me to unmute you and ask Dr. Regisford some questions.
Any questions? I see there's a lot of stuff in the chat box, but I can't.
Oh, let's see. I can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions?
Oh, we have someone asking about the presentation. Where can they get the presentation? Or is it recording? It says recording. Are you referring to the recording of this event, or if you're referring to the recording of this event, we will send it out to all participants, and it will be on our YouTube page, the Alumni Association at CCNY.
Everyone got that?
And don't worry, I'll post our social media in the chat.
No questions?
Anyone brave enough to unmute themselves or raise their hand?
I'm trying to read the stuff here.
I found it absolutely wonderful what you presented. It just affirmed everything that I tried to live by, but you gave some more direction. And I would like to invite you to be on my television show. I am broadcasting through Zoom, but I'm on channel 10, and you would be amazing. So I'll send
you.
You're fantastic. And I think we got to get this out and let more people hear about what you're doing.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Is it Mrs. Paris Hilton?
Paris Hicklin, and I'll put it in chat book. I have my website is ingridsworld.org.
Once again, I'll write it down. Ingrid's World?
ingridsworld.org.
Okay.
And yeah, because I'm just looking, and the nice thing about it is that my show is stationed here in Virginia, but of course I do my shows through Zoom, and then it goes on channel 10.
All right, that was great. Thank you
So I'll send you the website, and we'll talk. I saw your email address on your website, so
yes.
I will contact you that way.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Dr. Regisford, this is David Covington here.
Yes.
And we have a question in the chat, someone who thanked you for the presentation and said she was hoping that you could share how you came to develop your practice, which is a bit different from the typical medical education point of view. How did you come about to this point in your life?
This came about from my own personal story, my own personal struggle. It's on my website, and it's a little bit of an emotional thing, but I will share it with you. For most of my life, I struggled with finding my purpose. I grew up in a very strict, home. My father was a policeman, and he was a very abusive father. And I struggled with a lot of insecurity about myself as a person. I struggled with a lot of insecurity about myself as an intelligent person. And I pushed myself to extreme limits to do everything I did. And I did this, and everyone who looked at me thought, I'm so successful. Why am I wanting to change my life? But I was not successful. I was projecting an image of a person that the world wanted to see, but the person inside of me was not myself. I was trying to live up to the ideal that my father had created. And I realized, and that's when I realized that being healthy was not just the physical appearance. Being healthy was what was going on inside my mind and what was going on inside of my heart. And in 2018, I had a very embarrassing incident that really forced me to stop and examine my own personal story. And I realized I needed to rewrite that story. This was not the person I wanted to be. I was a healthy and happy child when I was 4 years old, and that person had disappeared. So I walked away from medicine, and it was the happiest thing I ever did. I don't want to say that I did not enjoy being a physician. I loved every minute of it. I really interacted and did a very good job of taking care of my patients. I gave 150% every day I stepped into the operating room. But I decided that I had gotten to that point where it was time to step away because I felt I needed to help people on a different level. I needed to help them on a deeper level because the superficial things that we are doing are not addressing the problem. If you look at the world today, it is not a world that is reflecting love, unconditional love. We are all connected. We have to treat each other with respect, and we have to be able to be comfortable with who we are. And to get to that point, we have to first do some serious soul searching, self-searching to get an understanding of our identity. And that's what I did. And that's how I came about this whole process, because I've struggled for the majority of my adult life. And that's really sad, folks. But I'm happy to say I'm not struggling anymore. I'm in a better place. I'm in a happier place. And I just want everybody to get to that place. I want everybody to be totally healthy because I believe it is possible for everyone, no matter what stage you are in life and no matter what age you are in life. So I hope that was, that answered your question. And thanks for the question. I'm sorry, I got a little bit emotional at the beginning. Thank you.
Dr. Regisford, thank you for sharing. I know that must have been very difficult, and that was my question. And I had a sense that there might have been something like that was happening. And I'm not sure how many other people on the call are in the medical field. I'm a Sophie Davis alum, and very proud that CUNY Med is now its own thing. But I feel like this is a narrative of, unfortunately, many people in medicine. It's part of what makes us able to care and connect, but it's also challenging because the traditional model doesn't give us space for that. And it kind of rewards more people who are doing things, right? And, and not this holistic view of a person. So thank you for channeling your experiences into something positive to help others. It's really great.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm really glad about that. And I'm glad that I can share my story, because I think the problem is we were taught to be doctors, but we are people too, and we have needs. And I think we put ourselves on hold to give everything to our patients, but that we cannot do that. And when you do it for a long period of time, you lose connection with who you are as a person. And you just say, I'm a doctor, but you're more than a doctor. You're a person with feelings and needs. And you have to spend daily checking in with your self-care to make sure that you're giving yourself, you're meeting those needs in healthy ways. And it is no wonder that the medical profession is one of the professions that's associated with drug use, high drug use, and suicide rates. So stressful positions, stressful jobs require and demand even more that we take the time to check our map and GPS daily, that we take the time to identify the pick that we are presenting to the world. Are we on the pathway of doing the purpose that we were created to do? Who are we? We are not just doctors. We are people with feelings, and we want to connect with other people. We want to sometimes roll over in bed and go back to sleep, So just trying to find out what your needs are and what makes you you. That is your identity, but you have to find that out for yourself. And sometimes it takes stepping away from what you're doing and not listening to the voices of other people telling you this is what you should be doing. A lot of people said to me, you're still young. Why are you leaving the profession? I said, because I had enough, So I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to do this, because I'm still helping, but I'm helping in a different way. I'm still healing, but I'm healing in a different way. I'm combining and meshing my medical profession with what I'm doing right now. And it's working wonderfully for me. It's working wonderfully for my husband. He loves it. So it's great. Thank you very much for asking the question.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm just giving you a heads up. I will reach out to you after this, because I think there's quite a few of us who journeyed through City College, CUNY Med, all of that, and have a similar view of the reform that needs to happen in traditional medicine and the traditional model that's out there. So
yeah, I mean, I'm actually thinking I would love to go and speak to a hospital and say, look, you need to revamp the program. You need to understand that you cannot demand a person to work 36 hours, go home and get 8 hours sleep and come back and work again. Where is the downtime to decompress? There's not enough time to decompress. And you keep going like that over and over again. It's no wonder people burn out, have nervous breakdown, and just quit the profession. I mean, I was lucky because I had always planned to retire by the time I was 50 anyway. So I was lucky to be able to do it, but not everybody can do it. And the thing is, we need to change. The old way is not working, hasn't worked for many, many, many years. But for some reason, people feel if I was tortured, then you have to be tortured. That is not healthy. No shape and no form, you know, and we can get healthy. We can be healthy because if we are not practicing proper health, how can we make our patients healthy? How can we encourage our patients to be healthy? They look at, I mean, one of the cardiologists I know who was one of the most brilliant cardiologists, he was morbidly obese. How can you tell your patients to lose weight if you're not getting healthy? It starts with the image that we are presenting, folks. And I'm saying nobody is perfect. We make mistakes, but we have to start somewhere. And so we start by re-examining our story and on our maps, you know. Any other questions? Did we lose everybody?
Dr. Regisford, this is
Yes.
Shinpei with the Alumni Association. Well, first of all, thank you very, very much for this really very enlightening presentation. And it's, you look at life, I'm just trying to reflect, you look at life really holistically, and that's why you call it a total health.
Yes.
And it's all these connected to the mental health. Sometimes it's easier said than done, and then you realize that you are in a toxic situation, but it's the action, like what steps or baby steps that you need to take to pull yourself out of that situation. I think that's that's the dilemma. I mean, I know I have, you know, very, very close friends and relatives who are really in a very difficult and abusive situations. I mean, for decades. I mean, you know, they know they are in this kind of situation, but they're still in there.
Well, I mean, it first starts with examining yourself.
Yeah.
First starts with loving yourself, and ask yourself this question. If you love someone that way, would you abuse them that way? So why are you allowing these people to abuse you? Now, I'm not, again, I tell people, I'm not saying that you quit your job, but you need to examine your job. If your job is a healthy environment for you, you need to go and speak to your bosses and say, is there some way that we can change this? Because the thing is this, if you are unhealthy, ultimately it's going to reflect poorly on them. And what is the point of you being medically and physically and psychologically compromised? You're not going to be of any use to your patients. So you have to first start taking care of your health. And that means sitting down one weekend and writing out, who am I? What do I want? What do I need right now? And when you realize that, you look at your job and you ask the question, is this job providing what I need right now? What is more important to me? Is it my health or is it the money? Because I know many people said to me, you are in a lucrative position as a physician. You're making 6 figures. Why are you walking away from that? Money isn't everything, because if you are sick and bedridden, what good is the money going to do you? So you have to make a choice. It might be a difficult choice for many, but at some point you have to say, which is more valuable, the money or my health? I will choose my health every day before the money, because guess what? As long as you have your health, you can find another job. You can do consultation work as a physician. You can do non-clinical work as a physician. You can be with pharmaceutical companies and give them your expertise and still make 6 figures. But the choice is yours. You have to decide what you're willing to give up. Go back to the choices, what you're willing to hold on to versus what you're willing to let go. And if you're holding on to the job and letting go of your health, it will come back to bite you in the butt, because 10 years down the road, when you now are debilitated on a long list of 20,000 medications, the job is still going to be there and someone else is still going to be doing it. So decide. Your health should be your number one priority. If you're not prioritizing your health, then what is more important?
Thank you.
Health?
Thank you. I think, decision making is also needs to be supported by
Yes.
by people, by your family, by your co-workers, and also once you make a decision, you just have to move forward. Don't look back. Like a lot of people have regrets. Like, why did I retire? I should have worked a few more years or something, or a pension would be a little more or something.
Well, if you think about it this way, if the discomfort that you're feeling right now is increasing month after month after month, I think you need to really stop and say, this isn't worth it. The thing is, you have to know who you are. You have to know who you are. Who is the person within you? It doesn't matter what Tom, Dick, and Harry says on the side, because it's not them who's going through it, it's you. So find people who are going to support your decision to be healthy. Let me repeat that. Find people who are going to support your decision to be healthy, because misery likes company, and you don't want to be hanging around people who have not your best interest at heart. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you.
You're very welcome.